The last talk this afternoon will be Tom Hejda from Overleaf, and he will talk about the combination of TeX and Overleaf. He said it will be a rather short talk, and he expects a more lengthy discussion because he wants to make is seeking for some discussion, and so enjoy this talk, and after that you are invited to give your comments.
So hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. First thing first, I hope there will not be enough. Actually there is plenty, so feel free to take them home. I don't need to have 35 or whatever ducks at home. I already have 35 ducks at home. So that's just first things first. And then for the talk, so just a bit for the motivation, we gave a talk about how Overleaf deploys TeX Live on one of the online conferences, I think 3 years ago. And we are like, maybe there is next steps, and I will explain why I think there is next steps and why I think that it's important for us to get feedback from a lot of people here, and that's what I'm aiming at. And I will just start with the abstract because I think it says a lot. So we do make an annual deployment of TeX Live. Actually, good news, we just got alpha version of 2023 yesterday. So we did the first round of testing. And we are wondering whether there is an opportunity for both Overleaf and the TeX Live maintainers and LaTeX developers, which is a lot of people here in the end, to benefit from our deployments and related testings. So actually, we already have one bug fix going on from yesterday's testing. Today, Joseph and Javier basically just fixed one bug in Babel that nobody was aware of until now, I think. So yeah, and whatever, I just already mentioned that we gave a talk about it. And really my personal goal as a person here, both a LaTeX enthusiast and an Overleaf team member, is get more feedback. So that's what I hope we will manage. So just a quick outline, I will explain a bit about Overleaf and TeX Live, just to give the right context, and not that context, I mean. Then crash course on how we deploy TeX Live, and then a bit about the testing, and then I hope that we jump to the discussion. So, about TeX Live, all you need, don't take me literally please on all you need to use LaTeX. That's TeX Live for us, at least that's how we view it. So it's the binaries, packages, fonts, basically everything. So TeX Live has an annual freeze where we say, okay, this is just the official thing, this is the DVD time and so on. But packages can be updated daily, as is just happening with Babel. And there is some websites where you can download TeX Live, and C10, which is the place where the packages live and where you can get them from in the end, whatnot. And the way how you upgrade your TeX Live version and package version is just TL manager update all. Nothing new, I think. So about Overleaf, so we are a LaTeX editing platform. So you can edit documents in LaTeX, basically source code primarily. We use TeX Live, so that's what we use. We just deployed the full TeX Live. We do an annual deployment of TeX Live in Q3 every year, so we are still in Q3, fortunately, because it almost seemed like we will not make it this time because of some commitments of the people that know how to do it. And we have about 2 million users every month. So about 2 million users open Overleaf every month. So there is a lot of people that use it. If we break it, it will be broken for a lot of people. So we have to be very careful. That's why I will talk about testing later. And for that reason, we do almost no mid-year updates. So we don't want to keep too many versions of TeX Live. And we want to make sure that once we say this is the thing doesn't change for the users. Because they cannot see that we updated a package. They just see TeX Live. And suddenly the document can break. And I bet you there is, every hour there is someone having a deadline in 1 hour that's working on Overleaf. Day and night, weekends, doesn't matter. Theses, whatever, right? Like grant proposals for 7-digit numbers and so on. So every hour there is someone that's doing something like that. So we have to be very careful. Okay, what we do. So crash course on how to deploy TeX Live to millions of people. So we have everything in Docker. So the TeX Live is just basically a Docker container or Docker image that you get a container, your compilation runs in the container, we get the output data out and we kill the container, that's it. So you have to prepare the initial image. Then at some moment, which was last week, this week, you do upgrade all the packages, and that's hopefully the last time you are doing it, because then you start testing. What we do is that we make sure it has all it needs. So R packages is a common thing that we add. So when a user says, I need this R package, we have a list where we say, oh, we need this R package. In the next TeX Live, the user is getting the R package. So we have hundreds at the moment, I think. Fonts, so we make sure that it has the right fonts. So we are on Ubuntu and we install like dozens of packages, Ubuntu packages for fonts, just to make sure that there is as many fonts as possible. And we make sure that it has third-party tools, think ImageMagick or Inkscape. It's typical third-party tools that people use a lot in Overleaf. Then we do some optimization. So we remove duplicate fonts, which happens a lot. So you get the font from TeX Live, you get the same font from the system, whatnot. So we do have some process to see how many duplicate fonts we have. I don't want to get to the detail, but it is an important step. We remove documentation. That's also an important step because our Docker image is about 10 gigabytes. And if you create 10 gigabyte Docker container for every hit of recompile button in Overleaf, it gets costly. So if you can remove a couple gigabytes by removing the documentation, that's great. And we precompile the fonts, which is step I don't want to get to detail, but it's basically mostly important for low LaTeX. So if your first compilation on a new server should be fast, then you need precompiled fonts. And then you test, and test. That's the crucial part. You finish the testing, whatever that means, I will explain later. You create your documentation. So we have a blog post about every TeX Live version where we mention the things that changed, things people should be careful about. And then you go live and you monitor, and of course, in 2 days you will get 10 reports. This document doesn't work in this version, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. And you check whether it's our fault or it's someone else's fault. Or it's not a fault and the people just have to use the older TeX Live version because a package was removed, which happens, of course. So that's it. And now for the testing, so we have something which we call the Overleaf Gallery. It has about 10,000 templates at the moment. And we want the templates to use as current TeX Live as possible. So we try running all the templates on the new TeX Live image, and we get a list of things that fail. And then we go to the failed templates and we see why they fail. Because there is a reason, there must be some change between 22 and 23 that causes the thing to fail because it wasn't failing before. So we get a list of these things. We also do some benchmarking, so we check whether some type of documents gets super slower. That's the most interesting thing. So in general, it gets a bit slower each year, but we use GCP, and GCP upgrades the service gradually during the year, so overall we are not getting slower. It's just that if you compare 22 and 23, the same document, it's slower on 23 because there is more code in the kernel or whatnot, the packages get more complicated, the fonts get larger and so on. And for the manual testing, so we take these failing templates. This year it's about 500, which is unexpectedly large number, so we smell there will be something that's in a lot of documents that doesn't work well, and nobody noticed before, but we don't know yet. I found 2 bugs already. I'm not sure how many of them are affected by these 2 bugs. And also, like, we have a couple user-reported past issues, like users mentioned, this thing doesn't work in TeX Live 2022, but it's not a template, so we have a list of these small things that we can test manually. Oh yeah, we corrected this, that's good. And then we discuss it with authors and maintainers. That's quite a new thing. We didn't really do it properly before. We still don't do it properly, but at least we do it. So that's exactly what's happening now and what was happening last year. Just 2 examples. One was Roman numerals, unterminated Roman numerals, which caused some very weird bugs, and it froze the compilation, which means that it just timed out after 1 or 4 minutes, depending whether you have free or premium. And you got no error message at all, basically. So that was a problem. And there was some infinite loops also over unprotected font commands, I think, so that was another problem. So we caught both issues, and they got swiftly solved, so thanks people involved. It was mostly Joseph, actually. And now it's Joseph and Javier for the first bug we found this year, just a couple hours, and it's solved, which is awesome. And you are much faster than we are, so thanks for that. And then there is just some links in the presentation if you wanted to see how the conversation went. So that's the testing, and I think that this is sort of the phase where the most help mutually can be done. So I would like to stop here, and I just have a empty discussion board, which we cannot fill in paper, but we can fill it in the video. So I please want to ask you to use the microphone at all times, because I can then watch the recording and I will hear what you said, because I have no idea. I mean, I have an idea, I will not remember. That's what I want to say. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
A question: when you find error and you try to fix, do you talk to TeX Live people, or do you try to contact individual package offers when you see the error?
Well, it depends. If it's a thing like the unterminated Roman numerals, I just talk to people at this Stack Exchange chat, because I was sure that people there know better than me what to do. Sometimes it's obviously a error in a package. In that case, we just file an issue. If the person is attentive enough, then you can make it in time, but it really depends. So it depends. I wouldn't talk to TeX Live people unless it's clearly a TeX Live issue. I would try to find the right people where to report the problem.
Okay, the discussion is open. Who wants to say something? Yeah.
Just a slight, you said you install TeX Live and then you remove the documentation. Why don't you install it without the documentation in the first place? Or is that because you're starting from a Docker image that someone else supplies? I didn't understand that.
Oh, well, that's a good question. I don't know. I just think that this was the safe option someone chose, which seems to work well. It's just a very small step, because like whatever you do at the beginning, it doesn't matter once you have the full thing. It's just somewhere on some place, and it's just pulled every time. So that's a technical detail, I think. For us, it's a technical detail. I know it maybe doesn't make sense, but I know that there were some issues that sometimes something was missing because it was wrongly put to the documentation part of TeX Live. I don't know exactly.
I know you know this, but I mean, you're taking the TeX Live and then running it on whatever number of templates you've got. So many of us have got that TeX Live some months before that, but what we haven't got is the templates. I know there's license issues and all kinds of issues, but it would be useful to have the testing before, because obviously you've got a limited time frame now between now and when you're supposed to ship the thing, and I don't know whether you've got any thoughts about how to make the testing happen earlier.
Yeah, good point. We would like to, I would like to find a way how we can offer our infrastructure for testing other things than just our TeX Live, because that's one thing, it's late in some sense. Like a lot of the things go to the kernel or to the packages much earlier, like we do it once a year. Some people really consider freeze, so they make the deploy in March, so it's like 1.5 years. There is like now updates to the package for 1.5 years for some people, right? And so on. The problem with running it on the templates is that this way we make sure that the templates are correct, and that's sort of the goal. We would have to be very careful whether we can use the templates in this way for anything else. And so if we had a lot of test documents, we definitely can very easily build an infrastructure that tests all the documents. That's like, I don't say it's easy to do in the sense of like, it's no work, it is work, but it's something we can do. But someone has to provide documents with the right licensing thing, or we would have to change somehow the ways of working. But we are a bit careful about this because it's not clear whether it's our data. If someone created a template and uploaded it to the Overleaf gallery, we have to be careful, like who has word rights on the template.
Yeah, I think we all understand that part, but nevertheless, I think there could be improvements. What about the possibility that you are actually, at the time TeX Live is going into the test phase, make your container and do your first run of this. When you then contact people, developers, about bugs, and they get fixed so that they are inside the final one, you have to still redo your testing with the final one that is on press. But with a good likelihood that the bugs are all fixed, that you are otherwise fine then, which is always a problem, because then there is this discrepancy. And if you can move this step to the point where the first freeze happens, I think everybody would gain, and the pressure on the community is much less. I think this is another point that we have to sort of openly discuss. I mean, it's enormously important that you are not falling long time behind. It's also important that you do updates extremely careful. You say 2 million users a month, yes. We have the same kind of problem. We have, I don't know, 10 million, 50 million users when we switch. They are not all changing at the same time. We also need a good test base. And the better the test base, the better for everybody. So I think we are in this sense on the same board. But the moment you are in the commercial world pushing out your new version and it would blow, you put an enormous lot of pressure on outside developers doing things for free, doing it extremely fast to get things fixed. Like Joseph did it while actually was supposed to listen to talks. I don't know which one. Okay. But if this is just not the talk, but somebody's daily life work, then you put pressure on him to do it in the middle of the night, or, I mean, not physically, but...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think we have to find ways to, well, first of all, try to get the pressure out. This was my first suggestion. And the second is also to think about how to sort of put some sort of beneficials on both sides for all developers as well, so that your stuff is working very, very well, and they have a lot of incentive with the stuff.
Yeah, agree. Just to make sure, just maybe a quick question from Frank. When is the first freeze exactly?
When is the first? Okay, this is done by the TeX Live team. They have a schedule and they say at this point we freeze and the testing start, and then there's about a month or so, or maybe 2 months of testing the frozen version. And if you can put your tests at this point,
you're suggesting to align both tests. Like
yeah, you have to do it twice. You run your stuff when the freeze comes, you find possibly bugs that others do not find, they get fixed so that by the next time your second check is
yeah, I agree, thank you, this is an important point. I will talk about this with the company and maybe get to you back. This is important. Just a quick note, running the test is cheap. Like, it has zero cost. The cost is half an hour of developer time, like literally. So that's the easy part. But yeah. So again.
I'm interested what manual testing means, with the goal of asking what can be automated. I think you have gallery templates. Are these complete documents that can be processed completely, or have they filled up with some blind text? Is there the possibility to transform or migrate manual testing into automatic testing, not debugging, but just being able to say, this works, this doesn't work. I think this would be an infrastructure which would be of great interest, not only for you at Interleaf, but also for kind of cooperation with people like the TeX Live distribution who has to run similar tests as well. Or actually people like me, I'm a Xindi, the maintainer, and they call me up and I have to do my regression tests before the TeX Live is produced. Yes?
Yeah, just a comment, as I mentioned, it is tricky how much we can open the tests to public. So that's one thing. The other thing is, yes, all templates in the gallery are complete documents in the sense of like they have to compile. So one of the requirements for a gallery template is that it compiles without errors. So yes, they do compile without errors. Actually, that's the 500 failing. They are maybe not failing of not producing a document. They are failing of producing an error. That's what we mean by failing. So yes, that's what we do, and they are complete documents, and they always should have to have a PDF version and everything. So this part is I think clear. But as I say, opening the testing facility is complicated, also infrastructurally, because like yes, we could do it automatically, but currently it's really just a developer opening a new virtual machine on one of our servers and running a script, which is automatic in the sense of you don't have to click something 10,000 times. But it is not automatic in the sense of someone can come and click a button on the website. That would be a completely different thing and completely different infrastructure, obviously. So that is that is something that's I think out of the scope of what we can realistically do, unfortunately.
One question there I mean, I see that for the template galleries, but you also mentioned that you do manual testing for user-reported past issues. And that sounds like something which really should be automated, especially to run these more often and for longer times. Are these generally issues which are already reported upstream in some coordinated way? And are there test cases there which are actually reduced enough not to contain private data?
Okay, so for what types of issues, it's not many. Like the user-reported past issues, it's single or double digit, probably mostly single digit, so that's not really significant. What we generally do on Overleaf support, if someone reports an issue with a package, and we believe it's an issue with the package that hasn't been solved in the latest version, we file a report. I have filed tens of reports this way to various packages just based on things that came to Overleaf support. So we do that. Usually it's things that even don't have to do something with TeX Live. It's things like your Ghost script needs this special option to work in this case. You should update your Ghost script. We update the Ghost script in the next version and we check whether it works correctly or not. It's mostly these more technical things outside of TeX Live actually that happens this way, and where we really need to manually test because we don't have any other way basically.
I understand that you don't want to deploy a current TeX Live, even if I think it's really a pity, because I think many users would benefit if they could actually try stuff, really new stuff. But it would be at least nice if you internally could test with a current TeX Live. Run them. If you can run them, it's cheap to run them, then it would be nice if you simply install internally a current TeX Live and run the tests perhaps, and so that we catch also new errors and not months behind.
Yeah, and thanks. We have been thinking about it. So far we haven't found enough incentive to really consider how to do it technically, because the main problem is, so you either make it completely internal, in which case it's not that useful. In that case, it's much more useful to run the templates against something manually in January. I mean, manually in the sense of like in a batch script in January and get the results. For having a latest version, even very experimental, even after 5 warnings, it's experimental. Someone will use it for their thesis. and at one day someone will push something to C10, and one day before the thesis deadline, the things will die, and the person will depend on the latest and not on the stable, and will be completely doomed. And I am very strongly tempted to say that as far as this is a concern, it will never happen, because that's a concern we take very seriously, more seriously than the speed of development of TeX Live.
So maybe adding to Ulrike's suggestion, I mean, it's a political decision whether or not you want to make a nightly TeX Live version basically public to the users. That's one part of the story. I totally understand that you don't want it because it might break things for a lot of people. On the other hand, some people might want to have the choice, so this is a political thing that you need to decide. But what if you build a nightly TeX Live for a nightly build job and only run this internally? You said running all these templates is a thing that takes half an hour or something?
Yeah, half an hour of dev time, and then it runs for one day or something.
Okay, but still it's something that is doable, and even if you don't do it daily, you could do it once a week or something. Just running this internally in a CI job, then you have a more or less immediate feedback that you could also feedback to the TeX Live developers or package developers or whatsoever. Because you have a nice set of benchmarks basically that would also be interesting for the community. On the other hand, like Joachim said, he has to run his regression tests and other people have to do that too. So this is, I think it's something that could be back and forth running, and everybody could profit from that.
Yeah, to your questions, I'm afraid there is legal implications I'm not willing to talk about here, about nightly builds against the gallery. For the second point, yes, one thing I would be considering is giving access to something like that, which is a whatever bi-weekly build, weekly build, to actual developers. So anyone who has a package on C10, for example, that would be a way I was thinking about. Whether it's a good approach, I don't know. It's just some thought somewhere where I was talking already to people over this meeting, and was thinking we have to do something, this doesn't make sense and we need to do something. So one idea was doing this, in which case you at least have something available, but I don't know if it's useful, it gets complicated.
Yeah, but excuse me on this point, because I want to go into the same direction as him and Ulrike. If I understand you correctly, the intention is, when you do this testing that you described, that by the end of the day, this version runs the Overleaf Galley templates without errors, and this is the point where you then, at some point, turn the switch and you say 23 is available, right?
Basically.
So basically, all your tests that you did say success. And this happens after some things have been fixed, or you decided this year this one is not working. So basically you have a starting point. So if you internally, and not daily, nightly, whatever, but say weekly, repeat this on the current TeX Live, just internally for you, it should always stay the same. If not, there would be an enormous benefit if the problem is found then, passed through upstream to the developers that are in some sense responsible, whether it's LaTeX team, other teams, whatever, and it is then fixed throughout the life cycle rather than at the next year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I didn't mention, maybe just that's an important comment. So if a template fails and we cannot fix it, we just keep it on the older version. Actually, we have a funny situation. 300 templates that failed on 22 are not failing on 23 because something. I have no idea. I haven't checked the details. I have them somewhere. As I said, it's yesterday's thing. So this happens as well. So yeah, that's what we do in the end. And as I mentioned, it's only, I'm stopping. It's only last year that we actually did this sort of live debugging of TeX Live between Overleaf and the community. So it's, for us, it's a new approach, because before we just said this template is failing and we document it in the blog post, and that's what we do. We really try to improve the process, and we'll try to get better version of TeX Live in Overleaf. If it means starting sooner, yes, fine, we can look into that and try to find the correct time at the capacity at the correct time to do that, because there is something involved, of course. If it means doing more testing than once in July or June or something, yes, that's something we will consider. So thanks for both these ideas. And yeah, so that's it, I think, from me.